Welcome back, story lovers. Today we're diving into I Need to Raise My Sister Properly, so hit that like button and subscribe for more. It really helps us out. Now, let's begin. In the novel The Beloved Saint, Liz Agnes was the ultimate villain, tragic, fierce, and devastatingly beautiful, and she was our reader's absolute favorite. Then one day, through a twist of fate, that reader woke up inside the pages of the story itself. And her new identity? Rachel Agnes, the villain's older half-sister, close enough to be on the front lines. As Rachel, she's thrilled. She gets to watch over her favorite character's entire life. You see, Liz was the Duke's illegitimate child. In the original story, Rachel dies young. This tragedy is what brings Liz into the cruel Agnes household. Because of her origins, she suffered endless abuse from everyone, twisting her into the bitter villain she was destined to become. Unlike the heroine, Liz wasn't born with a silver spoon. She clawed her way up from nothing, and that's why our reader admired her so much. She remembers Liz's tragic end in the novel, a lonely, quiet death, never knowing the warmth of being loved. But now, things would be different. Rachel Agnes would rewrite her sister's fate. Suddenly, a sharp knock interrupts her resolve. It's Abigail, the treacherous headmaid, bringing a bottle of wine. In the novel, this snake took over the estate after the Duke and Duchess died. Hungry for control, she preyed upon Rachel's grief, drugging her with alcohol until she was a puppet. Rage boils in the new Rachel. She refuses the wine and sends Abigail away. That addiction ends now. If she's going to save Liz's life, she has to reclaim her own first. She tries to clear her head in a bath, but Abigail sends another maid, Anne, with more wine. Fed up, Rachel takes it, just so Anne can report back that the job was done. Later, a commotion erupts downstairs. A man named Marcus has forced his way in, demanding to see her. If her memory serves, Marcus becomes Liz's loyal right-hand man. He's the one who knows Liz's location and brings her to the estate after the original Rachel's death. For him to show up now, it's a stroke of incredible luck. She invites him for tea, and his first words are a jab at her sobriety. The humiliation stings. Marcus then reports on the territory's dire state. The land is dying. The knights are unpaid, people are fleeing, and beasts roam free. The news is a shock, but Marcus reminds her this is her fault. She's the one who put Abigail in charge of everything. She sighs in frustration, but there's no time for regret. Her first order: fire every single person loyal to Abigail. The command stuns Marcus. Amid his shock, Rachel presents the bottle of wine Abigail gave her. She needs him to investigate its contents. He doesn't know what's inside, but his eyes burn with rage. The sheer audacity of that corrupt headmaid. As Marcus fumes, Rachel sips her tea, her mind racing. She knows his true loyalty isn't to her, but to the territory and her late father. Still, he will one day serve Liz. For now, that makes him someone she can trust. Elsewhere, the captain of the Agnes Knights, Tail Weber, faces a rebellion led by his deputy, Rupert Archer. With no pay for months, and Tail doing nothing but drink, the men have had enough. Tail lashes out, but to his shock, every knight sides with Rupert. One by one, they abandon him, fueling his pathetic rage. Just then, a cold voice cuts through the tension. Rachel has arrived. Tail is Abigail's cousin, a leader only because of his connections. Rupert Archer, however, is a man of true courage. In the novel, he becomes the heroine's protector, shielding her from the villain, Liz. Since Rupert becomes an obstacle for her sister, Rachel is determined to win his loyalty and keep him in the Agnes household. Seeing Tail and Rupert at each other's throats gives her an idea. Why not fan the flames and solve two problems at once? Rachel proposes a duel to settle the matter, an offer Rupert immediately accepts. Tail, however, starts sweating bullets. Wasting no time, Rupert prepares for battle, Horden too, but he refuses to draw his sword, declaring Tail isn't even worthy of his blade. This insult enrages Tail, who attacks recklessly. But for all his fury, the fight is over in an instant. Rupert disarms and defeats him with humiliating ease. Victorious, he turns to Rachel with a wary gaze. To his astonishment, she names him the new leader of the Agnes Knights. The moment all the knights had hoped for was finally here. Lady Rachel Agnes had returned to her senses. With a proud smile, Rupert accepts the honor, pledging his sword to her and the family. Back at the mansion, Abigail is spiraling. It took her months to break Rachel down with drugs and liquor. An addiction should be an unbreakable chain. So how is Rachel suddenly shattering it? A servant bursts in, reporting Rachel's meeting with Marcus. Abigail whirls on Anne, demanding to know if Rachel drank the wine. When Anne gives a hesitant answer, she feels Abigail's wrath, suffering her violent outburst. At that very moment, Rachel and Rupert approach the estate. It was time to finally end Abigail's reign of terror. The office doors fly open as Rachel storms inside. Rachel first comforts the crying Anne, but then her eyes lock onto a box of jewels on the desk. She confronts Abigail, who claims they were a gift for Rachel. Seeing Rachel's smile, Abigail believes she's talked her way out of it again. But her relief shatters when Rachel's next words make her world collapse. "You are dismissed." Rupert seizes her immediately. She throws a massive tantrum, screaming about injustice as she's dragged from the manor for good. Now in charge, Rachel makes Anne her personal maid. Over the next few weeks, she starts to rebuild the Agnes estate from the ground up. Her first move? Hiring a proper butler. She also promotes the most senior maid. She entrusts estate management to her new staff, freeing her to focus on paperwork. Being a duchess is tough, but rebuilding a ruined territory is another level. The mountain of documents is enough to make her weep. She desperately wishes Marcus would return to help her. Just then, Anne announces Rupert's arrival. Rachel rushes out to greet him, where he displays the treasures he's recovered. It's just a fraction of what Abigail stole in 6 months. And just when things seemed bleak, Rupert hands her a stack of scrolls. These are deeds to properties bought by Tailweber with his inflated salary. Life is hard for House Agnes, but things have to get better, right? At that moment, a grim-faced Marcus returns. He immediately insists that Rachel see a doctor. Elsewhere, a bloody battle has just ended. In the center of the carnage stands one man, Theo von Lachville, the fearsome Archduke. Known for his cold, brooding nature, he scorns high society, especially unimpressed by House Agnes's attempt at a comeback. Back at the manor, the family physician, 𝑽𝒊𝒍𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏, examines Rachel. He assures her that, for now, she is safe. He reveals the wine from Abigail was poisoned with perial glass, a toxin that can steal one's voice forever. Why Rachel is symptom-free is a complete mystery. Lumen ponders the situation. Perial glass is controlled by the Empire. Abigail couldn't have acquired it simply with money. Does this conspiracy reach the palace itself? He deduces there are only 2 ways Rachel could have survived the poison. Either she's a saint under divine protection, or a mage who has awakened incredible power. Rachel recalls Liz's water magic from the novel, but she herself has no such abilities. Deep in thought, she misses Lumen's watchful gaze. Her strange new demeanor makes him wonder if the poison altered her very soul. As they return to the present, Lumen suggests they simply monitor her condition for the time being. The poison is still a mystery, limiting what he can do. Despite this, Rachel offers her heartfelt thanks. Shortly after Lumen departs, Anne brings the mail. One letter carries the imperial seal. Meanwhile, deep underground, Rupert escorts Abigail. Abigail beams, thinking she's been pardoned. She has no idea she's headed somewhere far worse, a place even rats flee from. Later, Marcus reads the imperial letter, shivering at the mention of the Archduke. The Lachvilles are legendary fire mages, infamous for a bloodlust that dooms them all. The letter is an invitation to celebrate the Archduke's latest victory. Rachel wants no part of it, but Marcus insists. This imperial banquet is their chance to declare House Agnes is back. Exhaustion fills the room as a tense silence falls. Then Rachel breaks the silence, asking about Liz. Marcus is taken aback. Though they are half-sisters, he can't just reveal Liz's location. But Rachel's fierce desire to protect her sister moves him. He finally suggests a compromise. Once House Agnes is on stable ground, he promises to introduce them. He never expected Rachel to throw herself into her work with such fervor. Most nobles ignore their illegitimate siblings. Some even arrange accidents. But Rachel, he starts to wonder if she's truly different. Suddenly, Rachel asks about the tax exemption. The territory is in ruins. Waiving taxes for a quarter is the least she can do. Fortunately, Marcus is already on it. He reports that official announcements are being posted throughout the lands. But since most residents can't read, he's also spreading the news by town criers. Literacy, after all, is a luxury of the rich. Commoners lack the time or money to learn to read and write. This harsh reality deeply troubles Rachel. She thinks to herself, perhaps she should build an academy. After all, Liz deserves to grow up in a prosperous society. Everything she does is for Liz. Such is a sister's devotion. Soon, her day's work is done. Marcus reviews it, astonished by its impressive quality. Pleased with her progress, Rachel wants to celebrate. Her idea of a party? Inspecting the territory herself. Marcus nearly chokes, but agrees it would be good for her. On her tour, she discovers the brutal truth of life in the Agnes territory. Worse still, she finds men posing as tax collectors. During the tax exemption she just announced, furious, Rachel strides toward the disturbance. The imposters are harassing a flower vendor she met earlier, and she refuses to let this injustice slide. While the thugs are distracted, the woman tells her brother to run. She then lunges, warning the crowd to stay back. Rachel is moved by her selfless bravery. At her command, Rupert neutralizes the men in a flash. But what truly infuriates her is that these thugs dare to use her name to threaten her own knight. Cutting through the noise, Anne reveals Rachel's identity. She is Duchess Agnes. Rachel denies any link to these men, branding them as frauds. One look at Rupert and you know, if it were up to him, these frauds would be executed on the spot. Before the stunned crowd, Rachel personally announces the tax exemption. She then turns to the brave flower vendor and asks her name. The woman introduces herself as Bella. In that moment, Rachel decides Bella will become Liz's personal maid. Back at the manor, she confronts Marcus. She saw the state of the territory with her own eyes. The thought of Liz being out there alone is unbearable. After some convincing, Marcus finally relents. A few days later, Marcus kept his promise. Inside the carriage, Rachel couldn't hide her anticipation. Marcus, however, was lost in thought. Reflecting on Rachel's recent actions, he'd come to a single, firm conclusion. From this day forward, he would swear his loyalty to her. Another powerful ally has joined Rachel's side. As they arrived, Rachel's nerves flared, but that feeling turned to fury when she saw Liz cruelly thrown to the ground. Little Liz's eyes fluttered open to a woman holding her gently, but a harsh voice boomed from behind, making her heart pound with fear. The caretaker saw them and demanded their identities, but Rachel's words silenced her instantly. I am her sister. 8 years prior, Liz was left on this woman's doorstep, along with a bag of coins and a letter asking her to be raised. In return, a monthly payment was promised, an offer the woman eagerly accepted. She always guessed Liz was a noble's secret child. But facing Rachel, she knew Liz's family was far more powerful. A glint of pure greed flashed in her eyes. If she handled this well, a massive reward could be hers. But her dreams of riches shattered under Rachel's icy glare. Marcus then revealed he'd been sending his own funds. He had been supporting Liz, but for the past 2 months, times were hard, which likely caused the woman's cruelty. This revelation only stoked Rachel's fury. Just 2 months without pay? No, the abuse had likely gone on for much longer. Rachel had seen enough. She left Rurt to deal with the woman. Her true purpose was Liz, and only Liz mattered now. Alone with Rachel, Liz shyly asked if they were truly family. Rachel's reassurance was firm. The resemblance was undeniable. With a warm smile, she extended her hand to Liz, promising, "From now on, I will protect you." Liz hesitated for a moment. It wasn't a lack of trust, but this sudden kindness felt like an impossible dream. As they departed, Rurt handled her grim task. The woman who hurt Liz would vanish. Rachel then devoted herself to her sister. From fine meals to beautiful dresses, Rachel gave Liz everything with genuine love. Soon, it was time for introductions. First was Bella, who greeted the new young lady warmly. To introduce her to the rest, a welcoming party was the only answer. Surrounded by such warmth and celebration, Liz was completely overwhelmed. Tears of joy were her only reply. Through her sobs, she managed a single question. "Why did it take you so long to find me?" The words pierced Rachel's heart. Rachel lowered her gaze, crafting a gentle lie. She admitted she had been sick for a long time. Liz didn't need to know the truth of her past suffering. Later, Rachel unveiled Liz's new room, leaving the little girl breathless. In this safe haven, Liz finally opened her heart. She confessed her deep gratitude to Rachel for showing her life's wonders at such a young age. From a simple cake to a grand room, Liz's heart was overflowing. Rachel's gaze softened until her sister's next words shattered the moment. Innocently, she asked, "Why are you so kind? You don't even know me yet." But she was wrong. Rachel knew everything. Because in her past life, she was 𝑽𝒊𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒓, a woman from the 21st century who escaped her pain through a gavel. And it was Liz, the story's fearsome villainess, who had saved Yuan from despair. Now, as Rachel, she would repay that debt. A week passed. Rachel wished she could stay with Liz 24/7, but her duties as Duchess called. The Archduke's celebratory party was fast approaching, and Marcus had stressed her attendance was mandatory. Arriving at the capital, Rachel's entrance stunned the nobles. They expected a broken duchess, not this vision. Just then, a blonde woman approached. It was Caroline Harrisman. Her household was one that held the emperor's favor. Their house rose when they helped the current emperor steal the throne. Knowing this, Rachel saw no reason to befriend her. But at the same time, making an enemy of such a powerful family would be foolish. So, she played along and greeted Caroline, who immediately wept about her tragic love life. Unrequited love was her signature performance. She always played the victim, lamenting that her love was never returned. The nobles pitied her, but Rachel saw the truth. Women like Caroline were nauseating. Suddenly, a herald announced the arrival of Emperor Giorgio von Castor. He made a dashing entrance, but the man behind him radiated a dark, overwhelming aura. It was the Archduke of 𝒊𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒓. His presence was terrifying, yet he was breathtakingly handsome. Just then, the Cavendish couple confronted Rachel with a hostile exchange. Moments later, Rachel moved to greet the emperor, but to her shock, a sudden push sent her stumbling forward. As she fell, Marcus's warning flashed in her mind: never touch the Archduke. And cruel fate was pushing her right into him. Rachel went rigid as she fell against his arm. Rumor said that any who touched him met a terrible end. But it wasn't her who was punished. The nobles who pushed her were struck down. The Duke just gave her a peculiar glance, then departed. The next morning, Liz awoke from a nightmare that felt all too real. A vision of the future? She tried to shake the chilling thought away. Model. She cherished this warm, safe life she'd never known before. But outside her door, the peace was broken by the servants' harsh shouts and clashes. One maid cruelly taunted Bella, calling Liz an illegitimate child the Duchess didn't even want. Bella's face filled with guilt as Liz saw her, but the child just hugged her, thankful for her loyalty. As they worked, Liz remained silent, but her eyes grew unnervingly cold. She was clearly not the forgiving angel she appeared to be. Behind her innocent face, something else watched. Back in the capital, Rachel couldn't shake the events of last night's party. She recalled the Duke cornering the Marquis and his wife, who were plotting against him. She couldn't grasp how he walked away free after assaulting them before the king. Her servant simply thought she was exhausted from overthinking it all. To distract her, the maid suggested shopping, perhaps for a gift for Liz. Rachel agreed, desperate for a reprieve. But Caroline's sudden appearance shattered their peace. Just the sound of her voice sent stress through Rachel. Yet, she maintained her composure as Caroline smiled, inviting her to a party at her capital estate. This was clearly a trap. At the party, Rachel immediately felt like an outcast among the other guests. She noticed alcohol being served despite the bright daylight, a clear and deliberate choice by Caroline. Anxiety coiled in Rachel's stomach, but she masked it as guests whispered rumors about the Duke. They spread their tales without knowing a single truth. Rachel insisted she was unharmed, her body perfectly fine. But then Caroline abruptly asked if she knew the Duke, confessing her own long-held love for him. Rachel admitted they had met, but insisted it was nothing significant. Still, she wondered why the Duke's curse hadn't reacted to her accidental touch. The other nobles quickly comforted Caroline, assuming she was jealous of Rachel receiving the Duke's notice. Caroline soaked up their attention, relishing the unearned sympathy. Rachel had no desire to deal with Duke Harrisman's entitled daughter. Still, she called them all out for their blatant rudeness, including Caroline. Then she turned and left the party without a single glance back. In the Duchy of 𝑽𝒊𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏, the Duke strolled into his study, clad only in a towel. The butler and Earl Arthur Gorgon stared, enjoying the view, while Dante simmered with annoyance. Dante lectured the Duke on his carelessness, given the wild rumors painting him as a bloodthirsty monster. Arthur just laughed at the stories, earning him a book thrown by Dante. Ignoring them, the Duke ordered Dante to investigate Rachel Agnes. He knew the curse within him had stirred when she passed by. This curse was 𝑽𝒊𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏's dark legacy, a shackle that filled him with a painful, endless hunger for blood. For the first time, he felt a flicker of hope, believing he had found what he'd been searching for. It seems she's the one you've been waiting for, Duke. He remembered his father's words from his youth. The curse would bring only suffering and death if he ever tried to escape its grasp. After meeting Rachel, the Duke dared to hope she was the key to finally breaking his chains. Upon returning to her estate, Rachel received a full report from 𝒊𝒉𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏. Supplies were being managed, and new workers were under strict rules. She also learned some staff were moved, renovations were imminent, and that Liz was being bullied. Rachel dismissed the maid, knowing Liz would have to face far worse trials. She remarked that many maids could serve Liz, and Bella was not meant to bear that burden alone. Rachel renewed her vow to protect Liz, to ensure she grew up in peace. Entering Liz's room, she held the small child, feeling her warmth. That night, they slept in Liz's room together. She is a devoted sister. Let's pray she can raise Liz right. Meanwhile, the Marquis and his wife stewed in the consequences of their actions. They blamed Rachel, wishing her ill and plotting to sow chaos within House Agnes. The next morning, Rachel found Liz acting unusually sweet toward her. The little girl smiled brightly, clutching the new doll Rachel had bought. Rachel let out a soft laugh, surprising her servant, but her good mood soured when a report revealed the region was in crisis, with many people losing their jobs. Merchants were pulling out, goods were becoming scarce, and prices were soaring. The duchy promised to send supplies to help ease the burden. After a meeting in Greywood, the situation worsened. The merchants claimed they no longer had faith in the Agnes duchy. Rachel knew she had to investigate Greywood's sudden reversal and forge a stronger plan. She mused that if she were as ruthless as Duke 𝑽𝒊𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏, no one would dare move against Liz. Her eyes then landed on an invitation on her desk, a reminder of the Empire's 4 ancient families: Agnes, the lion; the northern family, the gazelle; Harisman, the serpent; and 𝑽𝒊𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏, the falcon. It's said that twins share one soul in 2 bodies. The northern twins carried this legend, and many feared them. The family had remained in seclusion for 7 years. This banquet would be their official debut into society. Rachel was no tyrant, but she would seize any advantage she could find. She had to prevent the coming tragedy, knowing one of the Northern Duke's twins would die if the future remained unchanged. "You can do this, Duchess." At the 𝑽𝒊𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏 estate, Dante completed his investigation of Duchess Rachel Agnes. He informed the Duke that the Agnes Duchy's weakest point was its commerce, citing the failed Greywood deal. He added that Rachel would likely approach the Duke to negotiate. Dante assumed the Duke was merely seeking her weaknesses to crush her. He believed the report was for a future attack, but he would soon learn how deeply mistaken he was. Back at the Agnes estate, the new maid began tormenting Bella again. Furious at being scolded because of her, she tried to force Bella to do her work. "Stop your freeloading. Leave her be." Bella then remembered why Rachel had brought her into the duchy. Rachel had praised her bravery, trusting her to protect Liz. That memory ignited her will to fight back. Just then, Liz entered the room, her eyes locked on Bella. Should this maid be dismissed? She only knows cruelty. Bella's anger flared, but she claimed it was just jealousy that she entered the duchy so easily. "I want to learn," Bella insists, "and prove my worth." She vowed to become a maid. Liz, Rachel's treasured sister, couldn't fault. Liz offered a sweet smile, supporting her dream, but deep down she wanted the new maid gone. Rachel's perception was flawed. Liz wasn't the gentle soul she imagined. A coldness settled in her heart, for she was a strange child with a dark mood. To her, Rachel was a radiant star, offering love without reason. She possessed a beauty and warmth no one could ever replicate. Receiving this first true gift from her sister, Liz felt shattered, even as she clung to its warmth. A shadow truly lurked within her heart. Days later, Rachel graced Madame Elliott's boutique with her presence, receiving a grand welcome. It was the finest shop in the city, and her rare visit made Madame Elliott nervous. Rachel's reassurances were enough to calm the Madame's anxious heart. Rachel savored the praise, feeling the immense power that came with wealth and status. Madame Elliott served tea, her admiration for Rachel clear. Then she noticed Liz for the first time. Rachel's praise made her sister blush. "How adorable!" A new design, Madame Elliott explained, would be perfect for Liz. But for security, it had to be shown in private. They stepped away, leaving Liz behind for a moment. As they left, a woman approached Liz with a venomous tongue. Memories of her cruel and harsh past flooded back. The woman planned to use Liz to secure her own position. She was certain Liz would help her without a single question. On this street, proper attire was everything, and Elliott's held all the power. The woman was desperate to keep her job, no matter the cost. Fear and anger warred within Liz, but she pictured her sister to stay calm. Then, she acted. She flung hot tea at the woman, a final warning. "I have a sister who adores me," she declared. Then she poured tea on herself, a twisted display to prove Rachel would always defend her. The woman was completely frozen in shock. This girl was a master of manipulation. Rachel rushed to comfort Liz, panicking. The wounds from Liz's past were too deep to heal. No matter what, the original story's plot was unfolding. "Oh, Duchess, if you only knew. Your precious sister is far more cunning than you realize." Liz wove her tearful, fabricated tale. Rachel held her close, whispering how loved she was. The woman who accosted Liz was now left trembling for her very life. Later, Rachel visited the Northern Duchy, welcomed warmly. She knew she needed immense power, so Liz would never suffer alone again. Power, Rachel knew, was stronger than any sword. Her first step was building a network of allies, starting with the Duke of the North. To earn his trust, she had to save one of the twins from peril today. She recalled Noel North, a key character in the original story. He had once helped the original heroine destroy House Agnes. He closed his heart after the guilt of causing his brother's death. A young Noel, lost in sorrow, was comforted by the tender care of the beloved saint. No one could resist her kindness, not even the story's main character. Rachel knew Liz did her best, and there were no regrets. But after a night of heavy drinking, Rachel regretted her own past actions. She wanted Liz to know the love she deserved and to find true happiness. With that in mind, Rachel gave the twins 2 whistles as gifts. They were confused, but she explained they were for emergencies, just like the one she gave Liz. The Duke, their grandfather, wished Liz could visit next time to befriend the twins. Rachel promised to bring her. With that, the original story began to shift. She had to save these children, both for them and for Liz. She refused to let a 7-year-old child endure such loss. While playing, the twins ran into 𝑽𝒊𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏, a marquis's second son. Mason cruelly called one of the twins clumsy. Noel, one of the twins, fled in tears, hating these parties. No one ever congratulated them, and their parents never came. He ran, thinking of his mother's hatred. She had only given him a teddy bear to get him out of her sight. His twin chased after him, shouting that their mother had made a fool of Noel. Gail comforted Noel, promising to retrieve the teddy from the water. Noel clung to his brother, finally feeling a sense of safety. Together, they found the will to face the moment. Meanwhile, the Duke was apologizing for his grandson's behavior. Mason scoffed that boys shouldn't play with dolls. Rachel noted his backward thinking and simply ignored his rude glare. Her focus was on protecting the children. Her goal was to save every vulnerable child. Suddenly, a piercing whistle cut through the air. She raced toward the sound. She found the twins. Gail nearly drowned while trying to save the teddy bear. Noel was frantic, blaming himself for his brother's fate. Rachel sprang into action. Death would not claim a child today. She dove into the water to save Gail. Her plan was to gain the Duke's trust, but she also genuinely wanted the twins to be happy. Relief washed over her as she saved him. She imagined a happy ending, but then Duke 𝒊𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏 appeared, his expression blank and his words mocking, calling them 2 drowned mice. The children, however, ran to the Duke, laughing and calling him uncle. Rachel was bewildered by this strange reaction. The Duke suggested they change clothes before they got sick, and she realized that while today ended safely, dealing with Duke 𝒊𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏 would be anything but simple. This meant trouble. He then tried to coax one of the twins to bathe again. He warned that if they didn't, their grandfather would find out, though he already knew. Rachel screamed internally, watching the tense scene play out. The Duke remembered her desperate sprint, as if she were chasing fate itself. A silver light cut through the night. A faint sound drew her to the child's rescue. To him, she was a butterfly, so fragile that his touch would destroy her. She missed the twins, suddenly realizing she was alone with him. The memory of their last encounter sent a chill down her spine. Then his words cut through her thoughts. He knew she'd seen the danger to Gail. Could he truly read her mind? His request for her hand felt like a trap. He threatened to burn her hand if she refused. She knew better than to hesitate. His promises were always kept. Oh, Duke, show a little kindness to your future wife. Despite his icy demeanor, his hand was surprisingly warm. She held on to that small comfort, studying his unreadable face. I've found it, she suddenly declared. He pulled her closer, asking what she meant. Just then, Duke North burst in, his eyes fixed on their joined hands. He reminded the Duke that murder was forbidden in this house. Relief washed over Rachel. She was safe from the tyrant's wrath. Later, Duke North offered his sincere gratitude. Rachel felt a small victory, knowing she had earned a sliver of his trust. She knew an alliance with a great house required goodwill. But such connections were vital for Liz and the Agnes family. Still, the memory of Duke 𝒊𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏 terrified her. He was a tyrant, and she feared her touch might somehow tame his monstrous power. She prayed to survive his presence without ceding more control. Meanwhile, the Duke ordered Dante to report everything on Duchess Agnes. Greywood, the second power in the south, had flatly refused any cooperation. This spelled danger for her duchy. But with �𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏's power, she could survive. The Duke simply smiled, deciding to wait for her to come to him. Meanwhile, Count Wickens seethed. Rachel had forced his daughter to marry a one-armed man, a man maimed by Duke �𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏 himself. He secretly vowed to destroy Rachel. Villains truly lurked in every corner. Back in her duchy, her aide reported on the latest developments. They discussed arming the knights with northern weapons, a heavy burden to bear, but Rachel simply told her aide that everything was under control. Rachel planned a trip north so Liz could meet the twins. Liz protested, wanting only her sister, but Rachel encouraged her, saying the twins were fun. She believed an alliance forged between Liz and the North would become their greatest strength. Protecting Liz was everything, but it demanded confidence and careful planning. As Liz left, Rachel commanded, "Bring me the Greywood report." The report confirmed her fears. Count Wickens was plotting chaos. It also revealed a key connection. He and Marquis Cavendish were brothers-in-law. The Count's long-standing grudge was now clear. Rachel fell silent, already formulating a plan to counter his schemes. "Duchess, you must go to your future husband." Knowing their connection, Rachel saw only one path forward: ask Duke �𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏 for help. And just as he had foreseen, she came to him. The Duke had been waiting for this very moment. Rachel met Duke �𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏, just as he predicted. The The Grand Duke was a power unto himself. His autonomous rule was absolute, recognized even by the imperial family. He was a king within the empire. Rachel made her proposal, fully aware of the stakes. If Greywood interfered with his trade, it would become a conflict between nations. The greedy imperial family would never ignore such a perfect excuse to intervene. His price for the deal was shocking. He wished to check something on her body. As she stumbled back, he pulled her close, whispering that her mind was wandering. All he wanted was to hold her hand. With that, the deal was struck. Elsewhere, the servants panicked, feeling as if the world had changed. The maids cleaned non-stop, shocked that a woman was visiting the duchy. At the same time, Count Wickens raged after learning of the new alliance. He cursed Rachel for his brother-in-law's downfall. Even the great Duke of 𝑽𝒊𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒓 had rejected the 𝑘𝒂𝒚 family's daughter. Yet, he chose to cooperate with Agnes. The Count gave a dark order: send a message to the 𝑘𝒂𝒚s. Meanwhile, Rachel returned to her own duchy. It was only a matter of time before her house regained its former glory. Her people celebrated, but she wondered if the Duke's interest was more than political. Don't be delusional, Duchess. The Duke only wants your hand. Or does he? After her, people insisted, Rachel finally agreed to rest and see the family doctor. Even as she rested, her thoughts raced. The Marquis's dismissive gaze haunted her. From their very first meeting, he had belittled her worth. So, his sudden invitation was deeply confusing. She studied the envelope, unsure if this was genuine or just another attempt to mock her. It felt like he was testing her for his own amusement. As she debated, her thoughts drifted to her sister, Liz. The longing for her sister was a sharp pain. She pictured Liz's fate in the original story, and the haunting image made her grip the sheets tighter. Rachel vowed to finish her work quickly, just so she could be by her little sister's side again. Meanwhile, in the 𝑽𝒊𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒓 mansion, Theo studied a letter with intense focus. Dante stood by, awaiting an answer, but his lord barely noticed him. Only when pressed did Theo respond, casually dismissing the matter and hinting at an entirely different plan. Dante froze, startled by how unpredictable his master had become. He couldn't help but wonder. Ever since meeting her, a strange spark had ignited in the Duke. It wasn't affection, nor simple curiosity. It was something new, and it deeply unsettled his loyal knight. For generations, the Empire has watched the 𝑽𝒊𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒓 curse, especially since the old emperor's fall. The emperor exposed their dark past, framing Theo's battle lust as a danger. With the true heir gone, Theo is powerless to challenge him. And yet, Theo can't shake the strange pull he feels for Rachel. She disrupts his calculated world, pushing him toward paths he'd never take. As night falls, Rachel tucks Liz into bed. The little girl clings to her, and they fall asleep in each other's warmth. The next morning, Rachel meets Marquis 𝑽𝒊𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒓. His greeting immediately puts her on edge. His tone is far too casual, almost playful. Is this his true nature, or is he trying to unsettle her on purpose? He begins teasing her with words bordering on mockery, gauging her reaction. But Rachel refuses to give him the upper hand. She counters with a polite yet pointed remark about their age. The Marquis freezes, unable to read her expression. He expected her to be predictable, but she denies him that. He dismisses her jab and offers his aid for any future troubles. He speaks with the easy confidence of a powerful man, offering guidance like a seasoned duke. Rachel accepts the gesture but firmly declines his offer. She is more than capable of handling her own ducal affairs. Beneath her calm, she remembers the pain he once caused. She won't let him erase their past. At the Agnes manor, Liz waits anxiously. Missing her sister, she seeks a snack to distract herself. That's when she hears maids whispering about Mary abusing Bella again. Concern flares into pure rage. Liz storms off to find them, witnessing Mary lock Bella inside a room. They don't even seem to care if Rachel finds out. Their arrogance only fuels Liz's burning fury. Once they leave, Liz approaches the door. Bella begs her to get help, for someone with a key. But Liz has had enough. She's seen Bella suffer for too long. Her eyes harden with resolve. This time, she will end the bullying herself. Back at the party, Marquis 𝑽𝒊𝒔𝒕𝒆𝒓 continues his subtle jabs at Rachel. He pokes at her status, treating her like the timid girl he once knew. Rachel simply laughs, hiding any trace of her annoyance. Their verbal duel sharpens, drawing the noble's attention. All eyes are on them as Rachel mocks the Marquis's own lofty title. She turns his mockery back on him. His expression twists in fury. Unable to lose, he cruelly drags Liz's name into it. That one mistake shatters Rachel's composure. Her tone turns to ice as she exposes his disgraceful past for all to hear. Now, every noble eye is fixed on him. Whispers spread like wildfire, trapping him. For once, the Marquis is utterly defenseless. Before their fight escalates, Theo appears at Rachel's side. His presence cuts the tension, and the nobles gasp in shock. Even Marquis 𝑽𝒊𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏 freezes, stunned by the Duke's arrival. Rachel stares, confused by the strange tension between the two men. Theo steps between them, taking control of the conversation as if it were his duty. Rachel watches, unsure of his plan or why he's being so bold. His timing is just too perfect to be a coincidence. While Rachel tries to understand, the Marquis flees, unable to bear Theo's intense gaze for another second. The nobles scatter, creating a wide circle of fear around them. The tension vanishes, leaving Rachel and Theo alone. Rachel turns to leave, but Theo's hand stops her. She looks up to excuse herself, and sees his expression suddenly change. His breath hitches. He coughs, dark blood staining his lips. Ominous purple flames flicker to life around him. Rachel's eyes widen, questions dying on her tongue. Theo holds out his palm, a silent reminder of their deal. The flames pulse urgently. Her heart pounds as 1,000 thoughts collide. Finally, she reaches out and takes his hand. She knows in this one moment that everything is about to change. The instant Rachel takes his hand, she feels it. His scorching heat fades into a soothing, gentle warmth. The sudden shift confuses her. She tries to focus on his pulse, on the fading purple flames, but her vision begins to blur. The pressure is too much. Her knees buckle. Theo tightens his grip, but Rachel finally collapses into darkness. Arthur rushes over, shocked to see Theo holding an unconscious Rachel. Theo steadies her, revealing his dawning suspicion. That, Rachel, may be the key to ending the 𝒊𝒔𝒂𝒊𝒏 curse. Arthur freezes, the weight of those words sinking in. If true, Theo's fate has been rewritten. Meanwhile, in the Harassment residence, Caroline sits in her room, surrounded by letters of admiration addressed to her. She glows while reading each one, soaking in the praise. This flood of attention feeds her ego, and she savors it. But one letter stands out. Its tone is cold, almost mocking. Her smile vanishes. A maid enters, gathering letters from the floor. Seeing Caroline's dark expression, the maid offers a newspaper, mentioning Theo's name is on the front page. Caroline grabs it, expecting useful gossip, only to find a headline about Rachel and Theo standing intimately at the party. Her face turns thunderous as she rips the paper to shreds. Raw jealousy ignites within her like a spark in dry grass. She slumps back, clutching the torn scraps with trembling fingers. Her disappointment rapidly twists into a dark, dangerous obsession. Theo's attention should be on her, not Rachel. A dark resentment brews as Rachel takes the place she so desperately covets. Caroline's calm facade shatters. Her eyes narrow with chilling determination. She begins plotting to erase Rachel from Theo's life completely. She is convinced Rachel has stolen the future that was rightfully hers. In her mind, love is now a battlefield, and Rachel is the final enemy. Inside the carriage, Rachel's eyes flutter open, her senses still clouded. The carriage's gentle rocking grounds her as she slowly sits up. Confusion floods her mind. They are already on the move. She asks Theo where they are going, trying to recall what happened after she collapsed. But Theo simply confirms the rumors about the 𝒊𝒔𝒂𝒊𝒏 curse. His calm honesty shocks her into silence. She must know more. How long has he endured this? What triggered those purple flames? But Theo just turns the questions back on her. The carriage falls quiet once more. Rachel glances at her hands, wondering if she was reckless. She had acted on pure instinct, suppressing the curse without a second thought. Now, the weight of the deal she made settles in. Should she honor it or demand something more? Uncertainty eats at her, especially under Theo's intense gaze. Her mind flashes back to the moment their skin touched. The flames clung to him like pure grief. His magical power was immense, yet she sensed a fragility deep within him. Time passes, and the carriage finally stops. Rachel peers outside and her blood runs cold. Theo brought her back to the manor. Relief is quickly replaced by a sharp spike of worry. She remembers the knights who brought her to the ball. Arthur's face hardens at her question, and a deep dread fills her chest. She fears the absolute worst, until the carriage door opens. The knights are there, unconscious but alive. Without a word of explanation, Theo and Arthur depart. Inside, Elise rushes to her side. She tells Rachel a bath is drawn, dinner is nearly ready, and Liz has been waiting. Hearing her sister's name brings a small measure of peace. Rachel turns to go upstairs, but Anne tells her Liz is just nearby. She turns, a smile on her face, ready to embrace her little sister. Instead, a horrifying scream rips from her throat. Liz is falling from the grand staircase. Earlier, Liz had appeared before Mary with a chilling smile. Mary startled, confused by Liz's sudden and strange boldness. The moment Rachel appears at the entrance, Liz's smile sharpens. She takes Mary's hand, spinning her backwards towards the stairs. Mary's confusion turns to sheer panic. In the next instant, Liz lets go. Mary tumbles down the stairs, her screams echoing through the hall. As Liz falls, her eyes lock with Rachel's. Rachel sprints forward in terror while Liz fights back a triumphant laugh. She savors the absolute panic etched on Rachel's face. Rachel finally catches her sister in her arms. Liz is unconscious, a gash on her head. Panic and rage war inside Rachel. Then Liz awakens, crying as she points at Mary. Rachel's expression turns to ice. Her fury ignites at the sight of the terrified maid. Liz hides a faint smile. Her plan worked flawlessly. The knights drag Mary away as she begs for her life. Liz feels a surge of victory. Rachel is finally, completely on her side. Hours later, Bella bursts into Liz's room, calling her name. The doctor quickly silences her, showing that Liz is resting. Bella's heart sinks, seeing Liz covered in bandages, lying perfectly still. She sits quietly by the bed, waiting. Soon, the doctor and maids leave, blanketing the room in silence. When Bella whispers her name again, Liz's eyes open. She realizes with a jolt that Liz was awake the entire time. Liz just smirks, impressed by Bella's quick thinking. Bella shivers, relieved but deeply unnerved. Liz then tells her she wants Bella to remain as her maid. Her voice is sweet, but her eyes hold a dangerous glint. Rachel's mind is a storm of guilt. She failed to protect her sister. The weight of that failure is crushing her. Seeing Rachel tremble, the doctor calmly suggests Mary must be punished severely for her crime. Rachel agrees, though she still sees this world as a novel. She now understands she must act decisively within it. Her past life flashes before her eyes. She remembers her life as Yuan, the agony of being hated by strangers, even by her own family. No one ever stood up for her. That loneliness still haunts her. She will never let Liz suffer the same fate. With newfound resolve, Rachel dries her tears and sits up straight. She commands the doctor, Elise, and Vert to punish all who conspired against Liz. The air in the room instantly shifts. This is not the fragile Duchess they knew. She finally feels like a true guardian, no longer needing protection herself. After they leave, Rachel summons Lumen. She demands to know about the poison she once took, and the wizard who was involved. Lumen explains the history of wizards, their diverse powers, and their complex place in the world. He even speaks of Theo's incredible abilities. Rachel listens, absorbing every detail, though her head begins to spin. When Lumen mentions the perio grass poison, something clicks. Could she possess the rare power to purify curses? The thought is terrifying. Her mind flashes back to the deal with Theo, and she is filled with instant regret. But it's too late now. The contract is unbreakable. Night falls on the manor. Rachel quietly enters Liz's room. She helps her sister take her medicine, gently coaxing her towards sleep. As Liz drifts off, Rachel strokes her hair, whispering an apology for not being there. The guilt resurfaces, now forged into a weapon. She pulls Liz into a careful, protective embrace. Music. Tears stream down her face. She vowed to protect Liz with all her might, no matter the cost. For the first time, Rachel felt a true sense of belonging, knowing someone needed her just as much. In the Imperial Palace, chaos faded into a chilling silence. Giorgio loomed over his brother's cold form, a manic laugh ripping from his throat. In his twisted mind, the throne was finally his reign absolute. Then his eyes fell upon Edwig. The young prince recoiled, terror etched on his face. Giorgio's expression soured. The boy resembled their father far too much, fueling his rage. He ordered the guards to lock Edwig away from sight. With him gone, Giorgio plotted his next move. He considered poisoning Edwig for good, a final act to secure his rule. As he muttered his plan, Theo emerged from the shadows. Giorgio froze at the sudden appearance. Theo calmly questioned his claim to the throne, his voice a deadlier threat than any blade. Before Giorgio could respond, Theo proposed a deal. The audacity stunned the new emperor, who tried to regain control as Theo drew closer. Purple flames swirled around Theo, casting ominous shadows. The display sent a cold rush of fear through Giorgio. Theo continued his taunts, demanding one thing: a battlefield. He wanted an excuse for war, and the emperor would provide it. Powerless to refuse, Giorgio accepted the deal for Theo's protection. He traded his freedom for survival, too terrified to consider the consequences. Days later, another outburst shook the palace. A plate shattered as Giorgio threw it at Edwig in a furious rage. His frustration had only grown. He couldn't control the Latchville house, and the humiliation was a burning poison. Across from him, Edwig sat calmly, his face unreadable. He knew what was coming next and quietly accepted it. The guards seized the prince, dragging him back to prison. A week later, Liz had recovered, to Rachel's immense relief. Grateful her sister escaped her tragic fate, Rachel still felt a pang of guilt. Had she been too trusting, too careless with her choices? Rachel's thoughts swirled until Liz's voice pulled her back. She'd been reading a story, but was completely lost in her mind. Since Liz's injury, she'd nearly forgotten the twins. She wanted Liz to meet them in high spirits, planning to read something light first. But before she could choose, Liz insisted on meeting the twins right away. Rachel's eyes lit up. Thrilled her sister felt ready. Elsewhere, Caroline sat stiffly at a noble gathering. The nobles were buzzing about Theo and Marquis Waver in the papers. When Rachel's name was mentioned, Caroline flinched. Lady Moore then teased a romance between Rachel and Theo, turning all eyes to Caroline. She burst into dramatic tears, and the nobles scolded Lady Moore for her insensitivity to Caroline's feelings. Leaning into her performance, Caroline spun lies about Theo. Lady Moore tried to apologize, but the crowd was absorbed by Caroline's theatrics. She rose with deliberate pride and stormed to her carriage. Inside, she ordered a letter sent to Viscount Moore, deciding to handle this herself. Duke Harrisman listened quietly as Caroline confessed her desire to be with Theo. Concern tightened in his chest. He knew the danger of approaching the Archduke so boldly. Even he had no real control over Theo. Still, a father's duty was to support his daughter. The Harrisman family had gained its power through unwavering loyalty to the Emperor, but that loyalty came at a price. To secure his position, the Duke had to eliminate his rivals, the Agnes family. The memory was a shadow he couldn't shake. He asked Caroline again if she was sure. She smiled, confident she could sway Theo's heart. Someone forgot the world doesn't revolve around her. Back at Agnes Manor, Rachel and Liz prepared to meet the twins. Rachel beamed at how adorable Liz looked, sparkling with excitement. Liz was ready, but Rachel seemed even more thrilled. As they traveled, Rachel's mind wandered. She imagined Liz growing up, making friends, and maybe even finding romance someday. She planned scenarios that didn't even exist yet. The sisters traveled on happily, unaware of the political webs tightening around them. And that's our chapter for today. What did you think? As always, be sure to like and comment if you want to see the next part. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. We'll see you in the next one.